This is the plaintiff, Toby DeRay. He says he and the defendant have been lifelong friends, and he has no idea why the guy's double-crossing him. But friend or no friend, he's bringing him to court. He found a house the defendant wanted to purchase, but he couldn't afford it on his own. So they decided to buy it together, and then at the last minute, the defendant purchased the house on his own, cutting him out of the deal. He doesn't know what's gotten into this guy, but what he did wasn't right, and that's why he's suing him for the $8,300 he's owed. This is the defendant, Timothy Jacobs. He says there was a discussion between he and the plaintiff about buying the house together, but it was then decided he would purchase the house alone. The plaintiff even drove him to the closing. Now the guy's suing him, saying he should get a finder's fee? What kind of lifelong friend turns on a guy like that? Preposterous. He's accused of going it alone.
All parties, please use your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. These litigants were lifelong friends, but everything fell apart when they bought a house together, and the plaintiff says the defendant double-crossed him. But the defendant says the plaintiff knew the defendant would buy the house. It's the case of Home Alone.
Have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay, Mr. Dury?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're suing your former friend, Mr. Jacobs, for how much?
$8,300, please.
Okay, for a $5,000 finder's fee, you feel you're entitled to $1,500 for repairs on your car, $1,500 for gas, $300 for food that you say he owes you because you helped him find a house. Tell me what's going on.
Tim and I came to an agreement that I would get a finder's fee for helping him buy a house or find a house in Reading.
Is that agreement in writing?
No, it's not. It was a verbal agreement.
Are there any texts or emails or anything talking about the agreement? Not afterwards. Not after.
No, only because.
So according to you, there's a verbal agreement where he says, if you help me find a house, I'll pay you what?
$5,000 finder's fee.
Are you a realtor?
No, I'm not a realtor.
How would you even be able to collect a commission on the sale of a house if you're not a licensed realtor?
Because this was an agreement between him that we made, and we shook hands on it. So on our way out of town to go back to Southern California, we saw a house on the side of the road that said for sale by owner, and I said I'd like to turn around and go look at that. And Tim said, no, it's not necessary. And I said, well, I think it is. I think I'd like to turn around and go back. So we turned around and we went back, and the lady and gentleman there said they were selling the house for $150,000. So I began to negotiate with them, and I got them to agree to $145,000.
So you bought that house?
No. I negotiated the sale.
For him?
For him.
Okay, what's he saying or doing while this is going on?
Standing right next to me in the house with them.
Mum, he's not saying a word.
No, I'm doing negotiating.
Okay, so then you offer them $145, they take it, and what happens? Who signs the contract?
Tim and I then get back in my vehicle and go back to Southern California, okay? And if anything...
Right, but who bought the house?
He did eventually.
Alone, not with you.
Alone.
Were you supposed to be on the contract?
We're trying to build his credit, so we're going to put Tim on the contract alone.
The loan is one thing and the contract's another. The contract for the house, whose name was going to be on it? Because you can build his credit with your name on it too. So I'm not understanding you.
No, we wanted to get the loan and Tim's
Tim,
name
who
on it.
bought the house?
I did.
Okay.
He has no money in this game. None.
Yeah, no skin in the game.
No skin in the game.
Did you ever say to him, if you help me find a house, I'll pay you $5,000?
It isn't like he said, I wanted to stop too because I know what that means. That means I may be able to negotiate with these people. So we made a spot call, he calls them. Called them, they're home, we go in, they invite us in, give us a nice little tour. And then we talked to them about the house, and it came down, we got them down to $145 because she felt that I could get a loan for that, being on Social Security disability that I'm on.
All right, so according to you, the both of you negotiated.
Exactly.
All right, but then at some point, there's some discussion about him buying the house with you. Tell me about that.
Oh, we'd had these discussions, me being the ignorant one and never bought a house like this before, and he's just sold his. We've had a lot of discussions about, yeah, you know, if I couldn't afford something, maybe him and I could partnership in that. Not knowing how it's done, I'm discussing it. But I find out once we talk to a finance officer that that's not how it goes. They don't give house loans to buddies to go buy a house. They can't secure that kind of loan in any way or form. In fact, the financial officer told us both to stop. We doesn't want to hear any of that crap that you guys talked about. This is what we can do, and we're going to try and get Tim a loan, and we'll go from there. Period.
Okay, but two people can buy a house and two people can apply for a loan in the name of the two people. It happens every day. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is when was a decision made that two people wouldn't, and how was the decision made?
Okay, we didn't really come to that decision yet. Again, it's just talk yet because we don't know what we can do yet or anything else.
So the day that you make an offer, how does the offer go
Okay.
down?
Well, let me finish where we were at the little lady's house. We get out the door from the negotiation with them, and then I get close to the van, and that's when Toby pops right out of his mouth, and he pulled it out of thin air. You know, Tim, I did such a fine job in negotiating that deal. I think I deserve $5,000 finder's fee if you don't go into partnership with me, and you take this house on your own. And again, it's because I think we got it down where I can afford it to get it on my own. And at that point, I just turned and I said, Toby, that means I'd have to get a loan for $150,000. And I was so upset, I just turned away and got in the van and never said a word after that.
Did you say yes or no when he said that?
No, nothing. I didn't agree to it at all.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
All right, so now you end up submitting the written offer for the house.
Yes.
How long after that little visit?
Oh, we went right down, I think it was within that day or so, we went down to talk to, I think, Bank of America first, where I got shot down. Then we went down to James Luna, Star Finance, which he said.
But why is he driving you to all these places
Because,
if you...
I'm paying, it's on my dime that we're out looking for stuff.
How
and
so?
maybe an apartment for me or something on my dime because I agreed to pay for the gas and the eats to go do this.
Did you pay for the gas and the eats?
Yes.
Oh, because he's suing you for $1,500 in gas. What's the $1,500 in repairs on the car?
Black ice on the way up there, and I went off.
You hit black ice.
And went off
Why
into
would
the
he have to
forest.
pay for your car because you hit black ice?
I was on my way up there to take care of business.
That's it?
For the both of us.
That's it? That makes him have to pay for your car accident? He wasn't in the car. He wasn't driving the car. He was like, you know.
Your Honor, I'm trying to buy a house for the both of us.
I don't care if you need money.
No.
Yeah, you're trying to buy a house for both of us, but you have a funny way of doing it because you're not on any document. How is it that you think you're buying a house for the both of us if your name isn't on the offer?
So, would you do business with a friend?
Not today, not tomorrow, never.
Why?
Asking for trouble.
But the other side of it is, you know the person, right?
Yeah, but it'd be hard to make business because you will be friends with them, and then if something happened wrong, you will argue and not be friends anymore.
That's exactly what happened in this case. Exactly. Going inside the courtroom.
I didn't go up there to buy a house for the both of us.
Oh, that's what you just said. I'm trying to buy a house for the both of us.
Yes, I was at this point.
Okay, then
But when I
how
first-
is it at this point when financing is being secured, which happens chronologically after an offer is made? If you
Your Honor.
think at this point
Yes,
that
ma'am.
you're trying to
I'm
buy
sure.
a house for the both of you, why isn't your name on the offer for the house?
Because we're trying to fix Tim's credit. We're trying to do everything for Tim.
What does that have to do with your name being on the house? It could only help Tim get a loan if you, apparently you must have great credit and you have the money to buy the house. That would only help. That's not the case.
I'm not
he has
working
no
at the
job.
moment.
He can't qualify for a loan.
How long have you guys known each other?
I've known him for about 8 years and got to know him a little better in the last 2, maybe 3 years. And it came down to he's offered me all this help, you know, that he saw my situation and I needed. It was a time constraint. I had to be out of my house. I just sold the other one and I had to get my stuff out of there. And he offered to help. But as the thing went on, his help, there'd be a price tag to things. And he would help when certain things would come up. He says, I can help you with that. Oh, yeah. But, you know, you got to pay a little bit. Well, I'm in a situation. He's my friend and all, you know. Okay, fine. I will just pay you.
Right.
Period.
But on this occasion, when he walks out of that house and he says that, do you ever say to him, yes, I'll pay you a finder's fee?
No.
Okay. And do you have any proof he did?
We shook hands down by the
Do you have
river
any proof he
one
did?
day. No, I
Okay.
have.
No, Mr. Dury,
But
you
I
have not
still-
stop. You have not made out a case for a breach of contract where you can prove to me that there is a contract where he agreed that he would pay you. even if you say to him as he says, hey, I think I should get X, you need more than that for a contract. You need an agreement that you'll do that. And then there's all this talk about how you were going to buy the house. There's no evidence of, I mean, you may have thought that in your head, but the way a person buys a house is they buy the house. Their name is on the offer. Their name is on the contract.
Everything.
Their name is on the loan. None of that happened here. So now, after the fact, you may have thought that was going to happen. He agrees that at one point there was talk about that, but it's not a contract unless it comes to fruition. And there's nothing you're showing me. Now you have another piece of paper you want to show me. This is the last piece of paper. Hand me anything you want to convince me, anything you want to hand me that you think will convince me of your position, that there is a contract between you two that you should be getting $8,000.
These are all the phone records.
Phone records? Great. That doesn't prove anything.
All right, well, it's an affidavit from, whatever.
Okay. Ruling for the defendant. Good luck, folks.
Okay, thank you.
So the plaintiff fails in his bid to get this fee. You were seeking here in the People's Court? Nothing.
Nothing, that's all right.
What about the friendship? You apparently had a fairly decent friendship going for a while there, even though every time you turned around, you apparently were asking for money from him.
No.
According to him.
That's not the case, but it's all right.
All right. So what have you learned from all of this? Anything?
Don't help out friends, I suppose.
Okay. Well, that's a sad. But you should have had some kind of document. Sure. You do understand
Sure,
that,
I do.
don't you? Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much. I'm going to sign a few documents outside. Tim Jacobs is on his way out of the courtroom. Mr. Jacobs, how do you feel about the outcome of all of this? That's really
I
interesting.
had my day in court.
Yep.
And it was the right decision. Absolutely, she read it to the T. That's exactly how I felt about the whole thing. And we pretty well laid out what happened. You don't pull things out of the air and decide to jam your friends up after all that.
Yeah, you learned a good lesson. Everything okay now? You happy in the house?
I can go home now and start my new life in my brand new house.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
All right. Thank you very much. Harvey?
So ultimately, this was just a lot of talk. The defendant never obligated himself to buy this house with the plaintiff, period. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.